Hey there folks, so in this video what we're going to do is we're going to explore the surface sampler node and how we can actually use the surface sampler node in our PCG graphs. So here you can see in my world I've got this PCG graph that I've actually applied. If we wanted to look at that a little bit more, you can see if I select the PCG graph, you can see down in the options there's a PCG setting. If I look in PCG component, keep on expanding down, and in instance you can see there's the graph. So this is my first demo, the one that we are actually using. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into here and start looking at how this works. So the first thing I've got is I've got this get landscape data, and all that's doing is it's just getting the data from this landscape that you can see obviously placed out in this scene. And then I'm sampling it. So I'm taking that landscape data, the surface of it, and I'm creating points along it. And because I've pressed D, so right click here, you can see debug is on, and you've got this little blue icon. Because I pressed D and I'm debugging this, I can see those points being created onto my actual map inside of the PCG volume. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these options here. The first one is points, and within points here, we've got the apply density to points. I've talked about this in previous video when we set this up. We can obviously turn this on and off. When it's off, you'll see that every single one of them is white. And the reason for that is because the density exists as a value between 0 and 1, 0 being black, and here, every single one of these now being mapped as 1, so white. If we put this apply density to points, what it's going to do is it's going to evenly spread values from 0 through to 1. So we're going to have all the way from like your full blacks all the way through to the full whites, and these are all completely randomized as well. And we'll look at how we can use this in future videos to use it as like a filter or a density kind of option, so we can have only certain ones of these spawning things. The next thing that we've got is we've got the seed, and the seed is just basically a randomized seed that we can use for spawning these. So you can see editing this around. As I start spawning meshes with this is going to be useful because obviously you can just mess around. You might have the values correct, but you can just mess around with this to change the the variation of them, the placement of them, just based on randomizing these points. The next one is Unbounded. Now I'm just going to give you a little bit of a warning with the Unbounded. Mine's not going to be too much of a problem at this point because obviously I'm just sampling the landscape. It's an empty landscape and I'm just creating default points. But if you do Unbounded on this system and you've got lots of stuff coming afterwards, then everything else afterwards is also going to be unbounded. So if you've got lots of options that are happening in your PCG, lots of checks and conditions, if you've got lots of meshes being spawned, it's going to cover the whole of this world. So I'm just going to turn it on just to show you. And there you can see all of those points now cover the whole of this world. They're not being bounded inside of this PCG graph volume anymore. So I would always recommend working on it in a smaller kind of focused area first. And then if you do need to do Unbounded and put it over the world, just be wary that obviously that is going to push things out over everything. Now, one more little tip to link to that. You do also up at the top here have pause regen and force regen. So you could always pause the regeneration and turn on Unbounded, make changes, and you can see that it's not actually going to run all those changes. And then when you turn off the pause regen, then it will do that. The reason I say that is because if you make a lot of changes, maybe you're jumping between lots of nodes, every time you make any sort of little change, it's going to have to recompute the whole PCG graph. If it's going to do that for everything covering your whole world, then obviously that's going to keep on slowing you down. So you want to just pause it, make all your changes, unpause it, and all those changes will get recomputed in one go. Now I'm just going to turn that off just for a sec. So now let's have a look at this looseness value. So looseness is basically going to kind of spread these elements out. You can see that they're trying to fit into a bit of a grid, but everything's been just kind of offset on the X and the Y a little bit. If I actually take this looseness value and go down, all the way down to 0, you can see now they fit perfectly into that grid. Now I've not got enough points there actually to fill up the grid space that we have, but you can see how we can get things here to be much more uniform. And this is great, if you wanted to have things like buildings or floors, I wanted these to be actual floor tiles and spaces for them, then obviously now here I can just set it to 0 and they're going to match up exactly next to each other. If I go higher, so we could just go back to 1, you can see obviously now they spread them out a little bit more. But if we go even more than that, we can actually make a much more sparse kind of spread of these points. So just by messing around with these, we can increase the spacing between each of those points to quite a high amount. Okay, so I'm just going to drop that. I'll drop that back down to 2 just for a moment. So we've got some stuff here. The next one is our point extents, and this is going to determine how big these points are going to be. Now, we can go and just leave them at 100, 100, 100, but in future systems, what we might want to do is say, well, where these points are, we want to remove other elements. So let's say that these were rocks. We might have some rocks that we put into the world, but is our rock actually 100 by 100 by 100? If our rock is much, much bigger, then we're going to want these points to try and match up to that as close as possible. If we've got very small elements like grass, then maybe we want to represent that. So let's just drop these down just for a moment. And you can see how if I drop down to like 10, 10, 10, you can see that I've got much, much smaller points. And also there's lots more of them because I've still got that looseness value giving me distance between them, but it's not like a fixed distance that they all have to be. It's kind of the spread of them. So now you can see lots more little points. These would be great if we were going to do lots of little kind of grass blades maybe. What about if we wanted to go even higher? So 100 was the default. What about if we go with 250 on here? So let's just take that and put it into all 3 of these. And you can see now these are much, much bigger. Yeah, these would be great for big rocks and objects. And obviously these are each independent. There's no kind of locking system on here. You can change each one of them individually. So if you wanted to have like a very tall kind of point, you could do that as well. Okay, so let's just drop these back down to the default just for a moment, and let's have a look at this points per square meter. And you can guess what this is going to do. You know, it's going to be the amount of points that we have per square meter, and by default here we've got 0.1. If I just change that up to a higher number, I might not see much of a difference. And that's because it's also going to be linked to this looseness value. So if I drop that looseness down, so now I'm not forcing them to be spread out, you can actually see that I've got much less points here going on. So let's just actually drop this down to 0. So they're all like in the grid, and go with the much smaller number, 0.1. We've increased it from the 0.01. Let's go with 0.5. And somewhere around here, with the amount of points per square meter, this is obviously dependent on the point extents, because how many points can I fit in a square meter? If they're very, very small points, then obviously I can fit lots of them. But if I go with this and say, I don't know, let's go 0.2, there you go. We'll get into the point where some of them are going to be missing. So here, 0.25 is pretty much what you'd need in order to get a complete uniform grid on this. And now if each one of these was to spawn like a floor tile or something, we can create a very kind of uniform grid out system. Or obviously we could go with the looseness, increase the looseness up, and we can mess around with this one as well. So we can say how many of these points are there going to be per square meter. So it's going to be a combination here between the looseness value, spreading them out, the size of the point and trying to represent the actual mesh itself, or the size of those meshes or elements you're adding, and how many of them you want to spawn per square meter. You can obviously set it to unbounded to cover the whole world, and you can also add some density to those points. And that's what's going to start us off for our system. So if you can come into your system, start with that surface sampler and think, what is it that I'm actually creating here? What am I creating with this surface sampler? And it might be that I have a surface sampler that represents trees, and I might have another one that I use. So I've just duplicated that one there. And this one here might be representing rocks. So this one might have a bigger value. So let's go with 300, 300, and 300. It might have a much bigger looseness. And you can see, I can't see these points right here, right now. But if I was to actually debug both of them at the same time, I can have multiple surface samplers all coming off of that landscape data, each with their own individual points on them. So this might be useful for trees, this one might be useful for rocks, and then we might have another one that's much, much, much smaller, which is loads and loads of grass. Okay, so start sampling that surface, start thinking about how these things are going to look, and what we'll do next is we'll start looking at how to actually spawn elements, spawning actors or spawning static meshes into the world based on these points. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to access more of my Unreal Engine content.